to pay attention to, just locally and internationally when it comes to voting. One of the big stories over the weekend and even today was the sentencing of the men who murdered Ahmaud Arbery. He was murdered in Brunswick, Georgia, after a run through the community. And we actually saw the importance of having the Department of Justice get engaged and different organizations to push and amplify for justice. And we also saw that being resulted in arrest and charges against the officers who murdered Breonna Taylor a few years ago while she was in her home. And there was some new descriptions about what happened that evening, as well as some conversations about what led to those initial shots being fired in Kentucky. And so there is, again, a very important reason and lesson to make sure you're electing people who will go and ask the hard questions, do the tough investigations, while the attorney general is not elected by the people. They are appointed through the president, confirmed through the Senate. So again, it's very important for people to see how elections do have consequences and how that impacts everyday lives. And so, even here in Pittsburgh, as we move into the summer session, there's still ongoing conversations about funding pools, funding after school programs. And as we gear up, we're just a couple of weeks away from the start of back to school. I know a lot of folks are shocked that summer went by so quickly. Some people are very, I'm pretty sure parents are very happy to have, school be back in session. But you want to make sure that you understand masks are coming back. Right now, Allegheny County is in a high COVID spread. So while we're going to be talking with our next guest about like monkeypox and what you can do to stay safe, also be mindful that COVID-19 is still here. There is even conversations in places like New York about polio making a resurgence. So it's going to be very, very important that your health and safety be taken very, very seriously this upcoming semester, as there's going to be so many changes as people move back in person for schooling, for work, as well as for conferences that are coming. So I want to make sure people have the tools and resources to stay safe, to make informed decisions. And that's what we're going to be talking with our guests this evening. Our first guests are coming to us from Allies for Health and Well-Being. Allies is a nonprofit organization that specializes in cultural competent care, particularly to those impacted with the HIV and AIDS viruses. And our first guests are going to talk to us a little bit, give us an update not only about what's going on with monkeypox, but also what are some of the things that we can do to be safe. And so please welcome Mpande, who is a director of health and services, and Braden, who is a physician's assistant from Allies Health and Wellbeing. Welcome to the Power Hour.
Hello, good evening.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much for joining me. Like I said, we're dealing with back to school. We're also thinking about us going, finishing these last few weeks of summer. And now we're also, unfortunately, dealing with the realities of monkeypox. So coming first to you and Pande, can you just talk a little bit about what is monkeypox and what are some of the things that we need to know about this virus?
Yeah, sure. So monkeypox is a virus that we now know is spread by skin to skin contact. So direct skin to skin contact. It started in Western Africa, I believe. Southern Africa had some cases. And of course, because of exposures and people traveling, there are cases that are known all around the globe. We have cases here in Allegheny County. The cases in the US are over 7,000. I was just talking to Braden earlier, and he informed me about our latest update. We have at least 29 known cases in the Allegheny County area. But the monkeypox itself, it's a virus that is, it's a disease that's caused by a virus that is similar to the smallpox virus. And so, whenever an ill person gets the illness initially for about 7 to 14 days, they don't show any symptoms. But after that 14-day period, they oftentimes start having flu like symptoms, swollen lymph nodes, which then progresses into more of the rash that we've all heard about. And the rash can be on all areas of the body. Um, Monkeypox can also be spread through sexual activity. So we are finding that people are presenting with sexually transmitted disease type symptoms. And when tested, these end up coming back positive for the monkeypox virus. So a lot of caution. We're informing a lot of our clients to be careful about their interactions, to kind of be aware of the way that monkeypox is spread, so that they can keep themselves safe.
Thank you. And coming to you, Braden, can you talk a little bit about what the monkeypox, what testing for monkeypox looks like?
Yeah, so the majority of the testing kind of components that we have available to us are typically just lesion swabs. There are no antibody kind of testing that we can do in the blood, similar to what we can do with COVID at this point. But if people do have symptoms, whether they're having fever, progressing to a rash, we can actually swab their skin, break open these lesions, and test directly for viral replication in those skin lesions. But that's really the only testing we can do thus far.
Thank you. And
Mhm.
so I know you talked a little bit about monkeypox being similar to smallpox. And so, with that, there is a vaccine for like both of those. Can you just talk, coming to you, Braden, and you, Pandey, can you just talk a little bit about what is the vaccine, who is eligible, and how do people find it?
Yeah, definitely. I think we may have to tag team on this answer. But there are two vaccines that are available. There's one that we've used for decades to prevent smallpox. We haven't really used that much in our country because we stopped vaccinating because we eradicated smallpox. But there is a newer vaccine called Jynneos, and it protects against monkeypox and smallpox. It is an inactivated virus, so people who have any type of immune system kind of condition, autoimmune, people living with HIV, Jynneos is an option versus the past vaccine just directly for smallpox. People were ineligible. We are vaccinating folks within the state of Pennsylvania per the Department of Health guidelines from Pennsylvania and CDC. And we are vaccinating people who have direct contact with confirmed cases of monkeypox and people who meet that criteria in that way.
And I just wanted to add, because there's a lot of questions from healthcare workers, such as myself and Braden, about whether or not they are eligible for the vaccine. And what we found is what we're doing right now is treating patients who have been exposed. So it's called post-exposure prophylaxis. So due to the vaccine supply being limited, we are trying to limit risk for exposure for the general public by treating people who have been exposed first, but really looking forward to more updates for when we can start vaccinating healthcare workers and vaccinating, in the traditional sense for pre-exposure.
And so, talking a little bit about like the eligibility, a lot of there's been, jokes and memes like on social media about like what you have to disclose. So, Allies is one of the sites that gives out the vaccine. What are some of the questions that people are going to be asked when they show up to get the vaccine and when they call in to make an appointment?
So we have basically a screening form that we're using that is kind of like our standard, provided by the Department of Health. So some of the questions are going to ask if you have been exposed or if you have been in an area where confirmed cases have been reported. They might ask some gender identity type questions because some of the eligible individuals are part of the LGBTQIA community. They will ask about sexual practices because some of the more high risk sexual practices do put you at high risk for being exposed to monkeypox. So they might ask some questions centered around that. Really important for us as healthcare providers to be very candid with these conversations and know we do not mean to, offend or whatnot, but really knowing and understanding your level and risk for exposure is important for us to be able to provide the treatment that is needed.
Thank you so much for that, and I think you put that very frankly because we don't want another pandemic, and of course, referring to like COVID-19. So coming to you, Braden, you're
Mhm.
working, with people. We have monkeypox, so we still have COVID-19. So have you? How are these two pandemics interacting with each other?
There's a lot of layers to that answer and that question. I mean, we're living through a global pandemic of COVID-19, and now we're seeing cases of monkeypox that we haven't seen in our country since 2017, where people had pet prairie dogs that ended up biting them, getting the monkeypox, but now we're seeing community spread. So, in this way, though COVID-19 is airborne, we're still having to wear masks, protective equipment in that way to assess patients. Monkeypox can be transmitted close skin to skin contact and fomites, so things that are non living that you can touch the same surface, have clothing interact, that type of thing, also be a kind of vector for infection. We need to make sure that what we were, at least the world that we were living in early 2020, whenever we didn't understand COVID being airborne and how it transmitted, we were wiping down surfaces, we were sanitizing, we were trying to live in a cleaner environment. We need that now for monkeypox because it is spread by close skin to skin contact, direct kind of contact in that way, and through non living things like fomites, clothing, laundry, that type of thing. So trying to kind of focus on both while one is airborne, still masking, still getting tests, still also having that overlap if skin lesions occur, that we need to also do monkeypox testing. I wish that there was a better answer, but just trying to focus on both and keep focused on both is probably the best answer there.
I think that's a great answer. And coming back to you, Pandey, can you talk a little bit about some like the myths that are out there when it comes to like monkeypox and COVID-19 that you're still having to deal with as a medical practitioner?
So for monkeypox, one of the major myths or misconceptions I'll say is this thought that it's a disease, which it absolutely is not. Yes, we have seen through the data that members of the LGBTQIA community have a higher rate of cases. However, that doesn't mean that a cisgender individual or a female, a woman who has sex with men um, wouldn't be able to get the monkeypox. So it's really important that the public understands that it does not discriminate in any way. So we are all at risk. And so it's really important that everybody is aware and, is taking care and caution while out in the community. So that's one of the myths that I know of at least. Can't think of anything for COVID off the top of my head. But just, the monkeypox and COVID, they are here. They are in the community. So it's not just, something that's out there in Europe or out there in Africa. We are being affected here in the United States, here in Allegheny County. So really important that we all have that sense of awareness in order for us to combat these um, health conditions.
Thank you for that. And talk about combating these health conditions. Is there anything you recommend for people to be proactive and to protect themselves as they're going out and about? Going to you and Pandey and then you, Braden.
Yeah, I would say, with COVID, just continue with the recommended guidelines of masking, social distancing as much as you can. For monkeypox, it's almost the same thing. Whatever the recommendations are, make sure that you kind of, so the recommendation is you avoid direct contact with any contaminated item, avoid direct contact with anyone who has symptoms of monkeypox or who has monkeypox. Kind of be aware of where the hotspots are. If there's like an area where cases have been reported, to protect yourself, you might want to kind of steer clear of those areas. And then for anybody who is experiencing symptoms, please, please, please keep your family safe, keep your friends safe by isolating from them and seeking medical care as soon as possible. Allies is available to the community. You can reach out to to our office, and we can get you in contact with our providers. The Allegheny County Health Department is providing testing and vaccine services as well, in addition to some of the other community health clinic, Metro Health, I know, Central Outreach, and I wrote it down here, HN Positive Health Clinic, are all listed as areas that are providing some clinical services for monkeypox. So, please just be safe, be aware of what to look for in terms of signs and symptoms, and seek medical health right away.
Yeah, and just echoing Mapande, if you're eligible for a vaccine for either a COVID booster or monkeypox, please try to reach out, try to get those resources. We're here to help support and advocate for patients and everybody in the community in one way or another. But just highlighting too that if you are experiencing symptoms that are consistent with monkeypox, please reach out, test, test, test. The more we know, the better we can help. And in the same ways of trying to also combat both of these disease states with vaccines, the more people we vaccinate, the more people who are eligible, the more we can kind of get in front of both of these kind of health concerns right now.
Thank you so much for that. 'Cause I think it's always important to give people, tools so they're able to to engage and make the best decisions for themselves. And you talked a little bit about, allies being available to the community. Before we let you go, and Pandey, then Brandon, can you talk a little bit about what allies is? I know I gave a very brief introduction at the very top of the segment, but can you talk a little bit, about the work that you do at Allies and some of the services that are offered?
Sure, I'll start and then I'll hand over to Braden. But as you said, Allies is a community health organization, and we provide health services to individuals living with HIV, culturally competent care. We are out here to take away the stigma from healthcare for anyone who is living with HIV. We also, in addition to that, do provide primary care services to the community. We provide sexual transmitted infection testing, STI testing, and treatment. And we also provide testing. So we have quite a few services available through Allies. We have therapists that provide therapy services. We have a wonderful client services group that provides some case management services as well. So we're a very good, well-rounded healthcare team, and we are very happy to be in East Liberty serving the community. And I'll let Braden tag on. He has been there a lot longer than I have, but I'm so grateful to be a part of the organization.
Oh, and we're so lucky to have you, Mapande. Just talking a little bit more about the clinical services that we provide. We do STI testing, STI treatment, HIV testing, HIV treatment. We do HIV prevention with medications like PrEP. We do medical assisted therapy like Suboxone, Vivitrol for people struggling with substance use, addiction. We do gender affirming care for people who identify within like the trans experience, transgender umbrella, who want to pursue like hormone replacement therapy, gender affirming services, primary care, Hep C treatment. The list goes on. We're here to help advocate and meet patients where they are. And we do both medical and like social case management as well. So we do a little bit of everything.
And yes, and I don't think you mentioned it. Is there a fee for your services?
So we are a nonprofit. We do have grant funding for people who are uninsured and underinsured. If people have insurance, or we can help navigate resources for people who are Medicare, Medicaid eligible, we definitely have like ways to navigate that with social work. But if people do not have insurance, or if they have insurance but have high deductibles, high copays, underinsured, we can help navigate that as well.
Thank you so much. And now, as we wrap, can both of you just talk a little bit about like the next steps, what going forward as we weather these pandemics, what should people be doing just to be mindful and to be safe? Come to you, and Pandey, then you, Braden.
Yeah, sure. I think the best thing for us to do, in the general public is just to remain educated and aware of what's happening. I think the biggest weapon that you can have is information. So, be informed. We try to keep our website up to date with information. If there's, like with the monkeypox, we have information and resources on there. The CDC is always a great resource to access. It's got information on there for what to do when you're exposed, to monkeypox, what to do when you're exposed, how to isolate infection control while you're at home. And same thing for COVID. There's a wealth of information on there, but just, Google away. And the CDC is definitely a wonderful resource, but you can also always reach out to your healthcare provider. We are happy to help at Allies. You can always call our office and they can get you in contact with the provider or our clinical nurse manager. Ashley is amazing. So we're always here to support the community should they have any questions about their health or anything that's happening within the community.
Yeah, and just echoing Mapande, I think the like more information that we have at our fingertips, the more vigilant we can stay. And I think we're all in a phase of pandemic kind of not burnout, but fatigue. And now there's something new on our plate. But I think that this is just a reminder, just like how Omicron, whenever it came to the scene in the fall, that this is just a reminder we need to keep doing these good kind of vigilant efforts with infection control, with testing, with vaccines if we're eligible. Information, there's a wealth of information, as Mapande had said, for resources like CDC, local health departments. If you want to consult any kind of medical practitioner, we can definitely help at Allies. But I also think, too, that communication is the other side of that coin. We want to make sure that we're able to help people where they are. And if you have exposure or need treatment or need prevention through a vaccine, we're here to help with that. So I think just staying vigilant, using the tools that we have, and trying to combat both of these at the same time is where we're going to end up best.
Perfect. Well, and Pondy and Braden, thank you all so very much for joining us this evening to talk a little bit about how we can stay safe during these pandemics and giving us some motivation and encouragement. As always, you can look on the chat if you want to get more information about allies. So thank you both so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having us.
Mhm. And so now that we know what to do to stay safe, we're going to talk about some conferences that are coming to Pittsburgh this week and next week. We are having a little bit of technical difficulties with our next guest, but we are going to try to talk to him now. And if not, we'll bring him back later on. But one of the cool things about Pittsburgh is, we're outside. There is a lot of green space. There's a lot of open space. So for people that need to socially distance, there are a lot of opportunities for people to engage. And one of those opportunities are coming up actually now, but primarily for this Saturday is the Barrel and Flow Fest. It is not only the only Black brewery fest within Pennsylvania, but one of the top festivals to attend by has been ranked one of the top festivals to attend nationwide. And so I want to talk to the founder of Barrel and Flow, Dave Bracy. We're going to welcome to the Power Hour Day.
How's it going? Am I in there?
You're in here. You're
Can you hear
in
me?
here. How are you?
I'm good. I'm hot. I'm in my car because, like, StreamYard won't let me be great. So, like, I'm sitting outside of a brewery in this hot ass car. but I ain't too mad about it. I mean, how y'all
Mm,
feeling?
I'm doing pretty good. It's always great to have you. I feel like every time we try to have you on, there's always technical difficulties, but we'll get it together in the future. But can you just talk a little bit about Barrel and Flow, the work that you do, and why this festival and this Barrel and Flow week right now is happening?
Yeah. So, Barrel and Flow is a black beer festival, the first in the nation. USA said that we were second best in the country apparently. So shout out to them. You know what I mean? But like we the purpose of the festival is to incorporate more of the black community into the $1.7 trillion industry that is the alcohol industry. Um, we're in our fifth year. We started out as Fresh Fest Beer Fest. We did a couple of years. We went through a pandemic, and then people came to us and was like, "Well, there's not a lot of diversity in the wine industry or the liquor industry or the kombucha industry, right?" So, we rebranded to Barrel and Flow to incorporate anything that's in a barrel, and we focus on small businesses. We focus on the black community, and there's so many opportunities to pair with the alcohol industry that folks just like for a lot of reasons. But folks, in the black community don't always look to the alcohol industry as a career path. I mean, we account for 14% of sales, but only less than 1% of any kind of like representation, whether that's ownership or getting paid. And like you could be an artist, you could be a lawyer or an accountant, you could be a truck driver. I mean, there's so many ways. I'm a comedian, and I'm supported by the brew industry. And when you look at entertainment in general, right, most of it is supported through alcohol, right? I mean, the Pirates just announced that their like whole roster is paid by concession sales. Most of those concession sales are alcohol sales. I don't know if you ever tried to buy a Budweiser in the stadium or whatnot, but you ain't getting it at a discount price. You see what I'm saying? So we're looking at not just being consumers of alcohol, but also the suppliers of that, and we're doing that through this festival.
Yeah, and can you talk a little bit about the collaborations and how you are using that to expand the diversity within the market?
Well, I mean, you know about it. You about to be pouring your own. I mean, this weekend, some moonshine and whatnot. But I mean, basically, like, so we looked at the collaboration. So I mean, as comedians, me and Ed, my partner, we have a podcast called Drinking Partners, and the industry was coming to us, and one we paired with the industry. We started, having them come down and pouring beer at our events. And in doing so, we were introducing them to a new demographic, and they were introducing us to a new demographic. And also, with them pouring free beer, we were able to raise our ticket prices, right? You're getting free beer, it's BYOB, and you're getting this great comedy, which allowed us to pay our comics well, pay our bands, pay the people who were working with us well as a result of adding alcohol to that situation. Everybody's winning in that. So, after a couple of years of doing these collaborations, we were like, when we started the festival, we were like, this has been a great benefit to us. Why don't we introduce more people to this? So the collaboration is a huge part of the festival. So we pair Black artists, entrepreneurs, small businesses with the brew industry to do these collaborations, right? And, a lot of times when people say, I don't like beer, it's because they haven't had the right type of beer or alcohol or whatever it is, right? So we pair these folks with the brewing industry. They get to come in and make their own alcohol, whether that's moonshine or beer or whatever it is. And in doing so, they get a better understanding of the industry, and they get a connection to the industry. So whenever you go back to the hood and you go, hey, like I just made my collab, come through, come support. Not only are you getting the cross promotion, so now your brand has its own alcohol, it has its own beer, right? That's kind of pimpish, you know what I mean? But then, if say that's not your route, you can then pass that along to some of your friends and family and say, you know what, like that's not what I'm trying to get into. But if you want to get into that, I have a connection there. And that's where the collab is most powerful. And we have these labels and whatnot. So if for it to be an official collaboration, The brewery has to either be black or it has to pair with a black artist, entrepreneur, small business, and the label needs to be designed by a paid black artist. And in doing so, one, again, you're introducing folks into the industry, but then, like these artists, every year, our portfolio grows of artists who are, designing these labels, and every year, brewers come to us and go, "Hey, we need some artwork." We send them that drive, and then they start to choose these artists, and that creates residual work. Juliandra Jones, PBJ Customs, she designed 3 labels this year, and I saw that she was designing labels, outside of the festival as well. That's not something she was doing before working with Barrel and Flow. And that's the thing that we love to see. After Five Studios, another art studio out in Chicago, they designed 2 or 3 labels this year, and hopefully they'll be designing labels more in the future and whatnot. But that's just a way, tangible ways to see how we're introducing folks to a new market and a new avenue to make money, not just drinking it, but getting paid for it as well.
And so you said it's an avenue. Can you talk about Barrel and Flow Week? I know it started, it's ongoing. Can you talk about some of the events that are happening this week as we go up to the festival on Saturday?
So throughout the week, we've got some events, at a few breweries. All of the events feature black art, black music, black food, and beer. We have a lot of people that come into the city from outside, coming from outside the city for this festival. They start arriving. I mean, some of them are probably already here. I've seen people posting about, what we doing Tuesday, what we doing Wednesday. So this is the first year that we've, tried to expand the festival beyond just a couple of days that we were doing it, and showcasing, more of Pittsburgh. So like, tomorrow we'll be down at Brew Gentlemen downtown. Wednesday we'll be down at Dancing Gnome in Sharpsburg. Thursday we'll be both down in the Strip District at Cinderlands and at Trace Brewing in Bloomfield. Friday we'll be at the Doubletree Green Tree. We'll also have an event at Arcade Comedy Theater. There will also be an event down at Voodoo with a DJ in Homestead. And then Saturday we have the whole festival, 12 to 9. We have an after party at Cinderlands. We have an after party at Thunderbird Cafe in Larryville, and then Sunday we'll be back at the hotel with a brunch, over in Green Tree. So I mean, there's a week long, events. A lot of them are free. Tuesday, Wednesday you got free events. Thursday you got free events, and you can see not only different parts of the city, but also some of the artists. We got Honey on the DJs, DJing Thursday. We got Ari Cole doing some events. We got a TT Studios that'll be showcased at Dancing Gnome. We've got like so much like blackness coming in. So whether you're new to Pittsburgh or you're trying to find something to do that's a little different from what you're used to, we've got events throughout, and we're really, this area, as isn't always the best at showcasing black talent, and we're trying to do as much as we can this week with this festival.
Yeah, I think you're doing a lot, and it's amazing to see how you are doing this across industry. As we wrap, how do people find out more um, about Barrel and Flow, how to get tickets, and how to support?
So barrelandflow.com, at Barrel and Flow, all through. Like I said, I mean, we got the main event. We have conferencing Friday. I think that's a very important part of it. If you want to come in and you want to like tap into the industry and you want to get some of these ideas and whatnot, how to grow your small business, how to, how to reach, if you want to diversify your client base or your workforce and whatnot. We have the conferencing Friday, but the main event is 12 to 9 Saturday. And if you're looking for tickets, it's barrelandflow.com. We've got 75 vendors, breweries coming in. We've got 30 food trucks, 30 goods and service vendors, a DJ stage, a music stage, 3 live art stages. And we've got the after parties and whatnot. So come see us down at the Strip District, 12 to 9, August 13th. And that's barrelandflow.com.
Perfect. Well, Dave Bracy, thank you so much for braving your hot car outside the brewery. I know you were trying to let us see the brewery, but the signal would not work. So thank you so much. And I hope to see you all at Barrel and Flow this weekend. Because like they said, I do have a collaboration. And for those of you who are not alcohol drinkers, we also have non-alcoholic options as well. So we'll look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Thank you for
Um,
having me. It's always a pleasure.
Perfect, perfect. And so moving from one festival to another, I think Barrel and Flow really shows how important Pittsburgh is to building relationships and expanding upon diversity. And another organization that is coming the week after Barrel and Flow is the Netroots Nation, a conference of where over 100 progressive organizations are going to come together to talk about ideas, policies, and just engage. And on behalf of Netroots Nation, we want to welcome our next guest, Mary Rickles, to talk a little bit about what Netroots Nation is and why you should be going and how you can become a part of this amazing conference. So, welcome to the Power Hour, Mary.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Of course, thank you so much for taking your time out of your Monday night. So, some people know about Networks, some people don't. Can you just talk a little bit about what the Networks Conference is and when it's going to be here in Pittsburgh?
Yeah. So, Netroots Nation is the largest annual gathering of progressive activists in the country. We intentionally go to different cities every year. This year, coming up next week, August 18th, 19th, and 20th, will be in Pittsburgh. All of our sessions will be happening at the convention center, and then we've got lots of offsite events happening throughout the downtown area as well. But if you're not familiar with the conference, it really is just a place to give activists and organizers and folks who work in politics a chance to connect, a chance to strategize and talk about the political landscape and what's happening, a chance to get some really great training opportunities, improve their organizing skills, and then an opportunity for them to get re-energized. The last 2 years of our event have been virtual. And so a lot of folks just haven't, had physical face-to-face contact. And regardless, like a lot of activists work online these days anyway. And so we really want our event to be a chance for activists and organizers who work on a whole range of issues to be able to come together from all 50 states. We have folks who attend from other countries and to just come to just share their knowledge and their experiences with each other and learn from one another. So yeah, that's kind of what it's about.
Yeah. And so, given like everything that's been happening, you mentioned the past 2 years, but literally, the last, I would say, 5 days with reconciliation, I think a lot of people really saw how important it is to be politically engaged and motivated. So, can you talk about why this conference is so important and so timely?
Yeah, there is a lot at stake this year. We always like to stress that it's not just about gathering folks to talk about the next election. That's important, but what happens when we get the people that we want to get elected in office? We have to talk about how to hold them accountable. We have to talk about how to get legislation passed. We have to talk about what we want our world to look like 20, 30 years down the line. And so, generally, we really stress on trying to make sure that our conference highlights power building that happens all the time, whether or not we're in an election cycle. So it's not just about who will control the House and Senate. It's a longer term conversation. Right now we have there's a lot going on politically. There's an extremist right wing court denying rights to folks. We've got ongoing threats to democracy, attacks on marginalized communities, gun violence. I mean, there's just so much that's happening every week and every day that like people just need a chance to come and talk and strategize. Like you can't, none of us can afford to not be politically active because politics affects every single person in this country. What makes Netroots a little more unique than just going to a rally is that the people who attend aren't just people who like dip their toes into politics for the most part. Our attendees are really engaged in politics in their communities. They knock on doors in their communities. They make phone calls. They donate. They run organizations. They are leading labor unions. They are running for office. They are running campaigns. And so the people, well, we're expecting about 3,000 folks. We're also having a virtual component of our conference. So people will literally be watching and following along all over the country. And so the people who attend, like their support is critical to determining what happens in November, I think.
Yeah, thank you. You broke that down very succinctly. So, can you talk about like some of the people that are going to be there, some of the trainings that are going to happen at the conference?
Yeah. So we have on tap about 150 breakout sessions, I believe. So there's a little something for everyone. We've got panels, we've got trainings, we've got film screenings, keynote sessions, caucuses. So lots of different types of sessions. You will see pretty much every topic imaginable, every topic that's important to progressives on our agenda. All of our sessions are created by and for the community. So we do an open panel submission process. Folks submit. We have people from the community who score them and help us select what gets put on the agenda. So it really is a reflection of what's important to our community. But this year we're going to have conversations, obviously, about the midterms, strategies to win. We're going to have lots of conversations about protecting democracy, both here and abroad. Lots of sessions that are digging into issues, abortion access, police reform, climate change, gun violence and gun reform. All of those sessions will be on the agenda. Plus, just some more, kind of movement-oriented conversations about building power and accessibility and how do we build inclusive workplaces and things like that, that I think help people think about how to set up the movement for the long term. Miracle, I know you're on a couple of sessions. I think you're on a session about disinformation and turning out voters in Pennsylvania. You and Jasiri are on a session about how Black-led progressive organizations are changing the face of Western politics in Pennsylvania, or Western Pennsylvania politics. Kahari is going to be moderating a segment of one of our keynotes with some of the progressive state legislators to talk about how, the importance of state houses and the state Senate in protecting against some of the bad bills that the GOP is trying to pass. Brandy over at Alliance for Police Accountability is putting together a great session on community safety. We have a lot of sessions that are led by folks in the community, in the Pittsburgh community. So there will be a lot of organizations represented on the agenda that are working both statewide and in Western Pennsylvania.
Thank you so much for that. And you talked about this convening and bringing people together. What's the message you hope Netroots is going to be able to send this year?
I think this year, one of the big messages that we really want to push forward is to challenge the narrative that the media is pushing that Dems are going to have a terrible midterm result. We saw last week in Kansas that voters are angry and they are mobilized to get out and vote, especially when whether or not their vote will count, is on the line, when democracy is on the line, when access to healthcare and abortion is on the line. Like, those issues fire people up. And so I think one message that we really want to push forward is that the community of folks who are going to be coming from all over the country are ready to mobilize, and they're on the front lines of many of these fights, and they're going to be going into their neighborhoods and fighting for the candidates who reflect what's important to them. So I think that's going to be a big piece of what folks will take away. And then, like I mentioned earlier, we want to just stress that this movement, the progressive community, is fighting for long-term change. So these midterms are important, but they're not everything. And so we want to really just show that we are thinking about, what we want our economy to look like well beyond 2022, or even 2024. What we want our communities to look like. How do we re-envision community safety and some things like that. So I think those are two of the big messages that we really want to try to push out.
Perfect. And as we wrap up, what are some of the ways that people can find more information about Netroots, and how can people volunteer or participate in the conference?
So we've got lots of information on our website. It's netrootsnation.org. We do love and need volunteers. We have lots of scholarships available for folks. We also have a locals rate and a special discount, 40% off, I believe, discounted rate, that, if folks are able to purchase a ticket and you use the code ONEHOOD, you'll get 40% off your ticket. If you need a scholarship, you'll find links to our website to apply for a scholarship or to volunteer as well. And you'll get access with the ticket. You'll get access to all of the content, all of the social events that happen offsite throughout the area. You'll be able to hear from some of our keynote speakers, which I haven't mentioned yet. Summer Lee is going to be speaking. We've got Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. Mayor Gainey is going to be speaking. We've got some really great grassroots leaders, in addition to many of you guys on the OneHood team. Natasha Brown of Black Voters Matter, Chris Smalls from Amazon Labor Union. They're going to be speaking. We've got attorney generals from 3 or 4 states coming to talk about what they're doing to protect abortion access in their states. So really, really great range of speakers from all over the country. And you'll get access to all of that as well. So we have tickets for in-person and tickets for virtual attendance as well. The virtual tickets start at like $35, I think. So it's pretty inexpensive. And you'll get about 40 hours of content if you attend virtually. And then, if you're able to join us in person, like I said, there's ticket prices at lots of different levels. Special discount if you use the code ONEHOOD, or you can apply for a scholarship or to volunteer.
Perfect. And as we wrap, is there anything else you want to talk about the conference that we did not get to mention?
I don't think so. We do want to just say that we're really grateful to all the help that OneHood has given. You guys have been great in introducing us to folks and putting together some really amazing content. And we're excited to be partnering with many of the grassroots organizations here in Pittsburgh.
Perfect. Well, Mary from Netroots Nation, thank you so much for taking time out of your day, especially your Monday night, just to talk about the upcoming conference next week and how we can get involved. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, you too. I'm excited to see you next week.
All right. Thank you all so much for tuning into this week's episode of the OneHood Power Hour. We know there's a lot going on. Like while we were having conversations, a press release just went out to say that the FBI is currently doing a raid on Mar-a-Lago, which is one of the properties that former President Trump owns and operates. So again, there's a lot of things going on when it comes to the election. And so we want to make sure that we are staying up to date about what's happening, about what you can do to learn more, to support, to organize. And so we want to make sure that you are following us. So at OneHood Power is how you can keep in contact with us. You can also follow us at OneHood Power on YouTube, so you can like, share, and subscribe our content. We also want to remind you that yes, we are less than 100 days away from our midterm election, but the rules have changed, and so we want to remind you that while right now we do have mail-in ballot access, you must apply to get your mail-in ballot. These are not automatic. Every election cycle, you have to apply to vote by mail. You also have to make sure that your ballot is received, signed, and dated by 8 p.m. on election day. No longer in Pennsylvania is your ballot going to be processed if it has been received after election day. So this is something that every year becomes the issue. After every election, please, please, please make sure if you're going to vote by mail, you have a vote by mail plan to make sure your ballot is signed, returned, and dated on time. As a reminder, you have until October 24th to register to vote here in Pennsylvania. This week there's a lot of things going to be happening. On Wednesday, there's a Board of Elections meeting, Wednesday at 1 p.m. I believe at the City County building, there's going to be a Board of Elections meeting. So if you're curious about what the election is going to look like here in Allegheny County, are we going to have additional drop boxes or election sites? Please make sure you go to the Board of Elections meeting on Wednesday. You can go in person or you can watch online via their Facebook and YouTube channels. In addition, One Hood is going to be out in the community on Friday at Liberty Green. That is the park target. So if you're in the Lammer area, please make sure you're stopping through on Friday. Get to have some really cool music from some really cool up and coming DJs. Get some food, build community, register to vote, talk about safety, and just have a really cool Friday night. Again, my name is Miracle Jones. I want to thank you all so much for joining us for this week's edition of the One Hood Power Hour. I hope you stay safe. I hope you got some information that was going to help you and your family make some informed decisions as you navigate the conference and going back to school. As always, have a great evening.